Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Revive Podcast. This is a quick little PSA that you'll hear some glitching in today's episode. I realized one of my cables wasn't plugged in all the way, but episode's totally fine. I just want to let you know that it's not your headphones and that it's me. It's not you, it's me. Classic. All right. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Revive Podcast. I'm Stephen Colberg, and I'm your host. And changing up some more things again. If you'll notice, I am sitting. I think I usually stand, but I gotta find my rhythm. I gotta find my balance. I gotta find my mantra, not my mantra, my vibes. I don't know it's whatever people call it these days. So far, we've been working through the Sermon on the Mount in Luke, and we kind of looked at briefly Matthew and Luke each have accounts of it and kind of why that was. Last episode, we kind of talked about the blessings and the sorrows in life. Today, we're going to dive into some really amazing information today. I want to kind of say heavy, but it could be heavy depending on where you fall on this. It's about loving your enemies. We're going to read that section today, and it's going to be incredible. I spent a good amount of time researching it and spending some time learning because I'm like, you hear this everywhere. It's like, hey, just you gotta love people, like the hippie revolution was known for. It's like, love, man, peace, man, no war, man. At least that's my take of it. And if I'm wrong, and if you're in the hippie revolution and I'm completely wrong, let me know. Today's episode, which will feature hopefully a lot of burps, is brought to you by LaCroix. Not really. But big shout out to them, because who doesn't drink a LaCroix while they podcast? That's a good question. Well, speaking of the hippie revolution, there is a movie out there that talks about it, and it shows how Jesus was really impactful in that time span, 70s, 80s. I don't even really remember. All I know is I feel like in Christianity, we really look at loving your enemies as the hippie revolution or the hippie movement a lot. Or just like, hey, the hippie you don't like, you still got to get along. We really turned it into getting along. It's like, hey, there's someone you don't like, you just got to get along with them. You're going to that Christmas party with that extended family or that estranged friend, you just got to get along. Hey, how's it going? Drink some punch by the bowl, the punch bowl, and just be like, hey, this is loving your enemies. I am a good Christian because I can get along with my fellow friend. I hate to tell you, but that is completely wrong. And this is what I have learned this week studying this. I did not actually go into Matthew's account to study this. I just stayed in Luke's. Excuse me. And so I can't wait until we have another episode of Love Your Enemies from the Matthew account. So the Luke account was the Gentiles, word of mouth. Matthew was more spiritual if you were a Jew. So I can't wait to compare the two stories, but I'm not doing that for this episode, just in case you're wondering. But you think about that. So think about that person in your life. Let's see if I got a story for you. Here we go. So one person that I hate in my life is the dentist. No matter which dentist I go to, I have a problem with them. I can't trust them. And so it makes me angry towards them. And I don't like them. So back in the spring, I was at this one dentist. I walk in. Actually, before that, there was that one dentist I really did like, okay? And he was great, and I loved it. I've always been known for having cavities in my life. Cavities all growing up. And then in my adult years, it's like, okay, cool, cavity here, cavity there, no big deal. But there was this one time, about 5 years ago, I was living in Lafayette at the time, and I went to this one guy, and he said I had 8 cavities. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I scheduled my appointment, got 4 of them filled. It was just brutal. Dude, shot up both sides of every tooth numbing medicine, just cranked them out, and I'm like, okay, we're not doing the other 4. And I kind of question, I take good care of my teeth. I brush and I floss, and I really question, hey, do I really have this many cavities? So I go switch to another guy up in the Broomfield, Westminster area, and he's like, you don't have any cavities. I was like, are you kidding me? So at that moment, I started to have a lot of distrust for dentists. But I'm like, I like this guy because he sold me straight that I don't have a lot of cavities. Fast forward, insurance is like, hey, we don't want to work with that firm anymore, or that firm doesn't want to work with us. Whatever the story, I had to switch. So that leads me to the spring of last year, and I went to this one dentist, and guess what? I had 6 cavities, gingivitis, and in need of a nighttime mouth guard. I'm like, are you kidding me? I went from really good teeth in November to in May, my teeth are all going to fall out if I don't start doing something. And I brush at least twice a day, floss multiple times a week. I try to, sometimes maybe it's a month in between, but you get the picture. I take pretty good care of my teeth because I really care, and I use the Sensodyne toothpaste and all that fun stuff. I do fluoride treatments. Like, I care because I hate cavities. And so now I'm at the process where I'm like, I got to go visit another guy. I'm going to go check out this guy in probably the Boulder area. See how I like to move all over Colorado. If you don't know that, that is where I live out of, is the Colorado area. And so I checked out some doctors, got some good word of mouth, and so I'm going to go check out another dentist, and I'll keep you updated on the story on how many cavities I might have, if I have any at all. But this distrust has left a bitter taste in my mouth for dentists. And you can see I really don't like them. But what do? I still show up, and I am cordial. I don't say bad words to them. I don't cuss them out. I am a good Christian person. See, that is how a lot of us approach this topic of love your enemies. We have someone in our lives, it's probably not the dentist for you. It's probably most likely a family member or a friend that you used to be close to that you just don't see eye to eye with. They did something to piss you off or tick you off, and now you're just like, well, I am a Christian, so I have to love them. But that means that I just have to tolerate them. And that is not what Jesus calls us to. I hate to break it to you, Christians, but if you think that Jesus is just calling for tolerance, you're completely wrong and you don't understand this. The reason why I say this, and I'm so bold to say this out loud, because when I studied it, it shot me through the heart that I did not understand it. See, I always appeared to do the loving your enemies under the umbrella of tolerating. Say, hey, I can be around this person even though I don't like them. I can make small talk. I can pretend everything's fine. And that is not what Jesus calls us to as disciples, as we'll learn here. So let's go ahead and read this, and then we'll break it apart a little bit more. And if you're ready, let's go. All right. Got my Bible. This time, I've learned. I opened my Bible ahead of time, so I can go ahead and read this to you guys without having to flip through all my pages. And I got bookmarks. Wow. And if I really like this, I might flip over unplanned to Matthew and read that account. And then let's go from here. But that's the Revive podcast. We know what we're going to talk about. We start breaking it down. Then I just really ask God, like, hey, God, like, how can I steer this conversation to help teach somebody something that I recently learned or am learning? And I just do my best to communicate that and break it down in the 20 or so minutes. But I'm thinking, if I need to go longer than 20 minutes, I should start going longer than 20 minutes. If you don't like that idea, comment it. If you love that idea, comment it. Oh, also, if you can like, share, subscribe to this podcast on Spotify or YouTube, that would be great. I want to start getting the word out there more about this podcast because my book is 99% of the way done, and this podcast is going to be a big platform for marketing that tool for dads everywhere. All right, that little plug and play. Let's go ahead and start reading. Put the Bible in front of my face so you can't read my face. See my face. I'm kidding. All right, so this is the NLT, Luke 6, verse 27. But to you who are willing to listen, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. If someone slaps you on the cheek, offer the other cheek also. If someone demands your coat, offer your shirt also. Give to anyone who asks, and when things are taken away from you, don't try to get them back. Do to others as you would like them to do to you. If you love only those who love you, why should you get credit for that? See, that's what I was talking about tolerance. Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to only those who do good to you, why should you get any credit at all? Even sinners do that much. And if you lend money only to those who can repay, why should you get credit? Even sinners will lend other sinners for a full return. Love your enemies. Do good to them. Lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great, and you will truly be acting as children of the Most High. For he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. You must be compassionate just as your Father is compassionate. The only piece I don't like about this is this last part. It says, show mercy just as your Father shows mercy. I think that was another text of the original text. And so there was a lot there. Like there's a lot in this passage. I don't know what stood out to you the most, but I'm going to walk you through one story here about loving your enemies. So loving your enemies, and the words that Jesus uses, he uses the love, the agape, and then he uses mercy there at the end. And I forget the Greek word that was for there, but those two words are action words. They're not passive words like we read here. It says even sinners love people. You know, it's like, no, the love that God is calling us to is a pursuant love and a pursuant mercy. So mercy in this case is withholding something that somebody deserves. So it says, okay, give them mercy, but give them what instead? Love. So in our day and age, think about a person. So I got another story for you that I'll share here in just a second. So think about this. Love is like the agape love. It's just like it's a choice to love that person. And then mercy, withholding something that person deserves. Keep those two things in mind. And then I want to read this, and then I'll share this other story. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. If someone slaps you on the cheek, offer the other cheek also. So you might be asking, Stephen, what do you even mean, like pursue my enemies and like go after somebody? That's like, what are you even talking about here? So a little while ago, we all have this person in our life. Okay, I don't think I need to say this anymore. We all have these people in our life. All right, I'm going to try to stop saying that the rest of this episode. But I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about somebody that agitates you, that you recently disagreed with, that you do not like, you want to avoid. You probably would say, like, I hate this person. I don't hate them, but I hate them. All right, take 35 seconds, not 35, just take 5 seconds to think of somebody you're having an issue with right now. Okay, I counted to 5 in my head, so hopefully you got that person. If you don't have that person, I'll pray for you. Haha. All right. So I don't know how many years ago this was, but I had a friend in my life that I just wasn't really getting along with. This person irritated me, and I just couldn't figure out why. And I liked this person. It's a he, so I can say he. And but we weren't just like quite getting along. It was something like, I don't know. It's just sometimes like you just have those people. You're just like, for some reason, you're just like butting heads and just you get on each other's nerves. And so I remember many years ago, and then I was thinking about this person. I'm like, I am tired of butting heads with this person, and I want to be friends with this person. And so I decided I'm going to start praying for him. Every day I prayed like it says right here, pray for your enemies, pray for those who hurt you. I would say this hurt from him was just more of like, you just hurt my feelings. And I know us guys and everybody in the world these days are not supposed to have hurt feelings. But honestly, words do hurt. Things you'd say do hurt, whether or not we want to admit it. And if you want to hide from that, go ahead. You can hide from it. But it's okay to say, like, yeah, what that person said was hurtful and it kind of sucked and that person's being a jerk. That's okay. Admit that to yourself so then you can start praying for them. So it's praise for those who hurt you. So I started praying for this person, I think daily for almost a year or just about a year. I just prayed like, hey, Lord, please be with this person. Please bless him, bless his family, take care of him. And then deep down in my heart, I was like, oh, Lord, I hope he just falls flat on his face and his life blows up and things go terrible and life sucks for him. Like, that's what I felt like deep down. I was like, oh, God, please, no. I don't want to feel that for him, but I do because it is so hard right now to be praying for this person. So about a whole year goes by, and the next thing I know, I just kind of stopped praying for him. But after a year, things got so much better. I didn't view him as an enemy anymore, and instead, I like this person. I like to hang out with this person. The only reason why I don't say their name because I didn't actually ask them before this episode if I can share their name in this story, and so therefore I'm going to respect that and not cast that out there just in case this person doesn't want that information known. But it is a true story, and actually, I don't even know if this other person knows about this. See, this is another thing. Half the times, we don't know who the enemy is. You know, I could be an enemy to so many people right now, but I'll never know. But I hope that other person does what I did and just starts praying for me. And also, 1, it helps healing in your own heart when you pray for somebody else. And then 2, it helps healing in their heart. So when I started praying for this guy, it started healing my heart of all the anger and the bitterness and all the feelings I had of just like, I just do not like this person. I started viewing them more as how God views them because I was asking that God, I would look at their life, I would see things in it that are kind of hard, and I would pray that God would help fix or bless or just be in it. Try doing that next time to someone that really has pissed you off. Like, look at their life and be like, man, okay, I know their life well enough that this one part of their life is an issue. Start praying for that every day. Take 5 seconds. Dear God, please be with so-and-so. I know they're going through this. Please help them through it. Bless it. Be with them. Amen. Do that for 1 year and then come back and tell me how you view that person and how that relationship has changed. Prayer is so powerful, and I could spend a whole podcast episode on it, but that's probably the most important starting place. And I love how it's at the beginning of love your enemies. It's like what Jesus says. He continues this talk to like the disciples that says like, hey, love your enemies, okay? Here's the blessings, here's the woes, here's love your enemies. So he's like, okay, this is what we're going to be talking about is loving your enemies. And then he says, But to you who are willing to listen, so far, like if you got through the blessings, you got through the woes, and you're willing to listen to more, here's the loving your enemies. And he says, love your enemies. Okay, here's the topic. All right, what does that mean? Do good to those that hate you. Oh, I don't want to do good. Bless those who curse you. Say blessings against people who say curses towards you. Pray for those who hurt you. Someone hurt you, pray for them. And then we can really dig this whole thing out. There's so much here, but I would encourage you to go read it. Like I always advocate, read your Bible, study it yourself, spend time in the Word with God together. And so kind of back to, so prayer is a really good starting point if you want to know how to start loving your enemies. Start praying for them. Start small, like I said, like a little quick blessing over their life. The next thing, and this is kind of the step I'm at, is now that I understood the love is a pursuant love, and let's see actually if I got my notes up here really quick. It's a pursuant love, and mercy is pursuant as well. Bible learning, Jesus notes, Beatitudes study. Here we go. Well, that's just Beatitudes, but maybe it's near the bottom. Ah, shoot. I don't think I saved it. Oh, well, that's totally fine. Okay. So, love, you can go research it. Love is using the word agape, which is like a choice. It's like there's 3 different types of love, and agape is like the all-encompassing one. And then the mercy. So let's break this down. So mercy is not withholding something that you would normally give them. What would you normally give somebody if you're a good Christian? You would give them tolerability. Is that a word? If you give someone that you tolerate them, that is, let's see here, that is verse 32. If you love only those who love you, why should you get any credit for that? Honestly, I wish I studied which love word was chosen there. That was interesting to me. Even sinners love those who love them. And so it's easy to love. Okay, actually, taking a little kind of context. He said, anyone can love each other if they all love each other. But can you really love your enemy? And so if you just want to tolerate somebody, that's not loving them. Tolerating is not what God has called us to do. And I hate to break that to you. So who is that person you're thinking of? And are you just tolerating them? Following God and being a disciple is so much deeper than just tolerating people. It is pursuing them with love and action. So mercy is not giving them what they deserve. So not giving them, in this case, how I'm viewing it is withhold tolerating, and in place give compassion and love. All right, let me say that again. Mercy is you withhold something so that they get something else. Withhold tolerating, give love. Pursue with love. That means you go out of your way to pursue that person. So you might be like, Stephen, I have so many enemies in my life. How am I supposed to know who to pursue? And just pray and ask God. Like, don't overcomplicate this, please. Don't make arguments in your head to justify getting away with this. God has called us as disciples to stop tolerating people and start pursuing our enemies. That's a big deal. So when I think there's 2 people in my life right now that I'm thinking of, that I'm like, oh man, like I kind of made them to be like kind of like an enemy in my head. They haven't said anything hurtful or anything. But I'm just like, I just want to kind of maybe avoid you, and I'm not so sure if I want to spend a whole lot of time with you. It's like, it's okay. It's like, but I'm going to love you. I'm going to tolerate you. I'm going to be cordial and be kind. I'm not going to curse you out. That's not what God has called me to as a disciple. God has called me to pursue that person with love. That means sacrifice for them, like lay down my life for them, like find out ways to bless them, take care of them. Like imagine if all of us picked out one enemy in our life and we decided to stop tolerating and start loving as Jesus did. So we can study love in the character of Jesus. And that's probably a great way to figure out, like, how do I start giving them this pursuant love? Just look at what Jesus did. Jesus served, Jesus shared, look at who Jesus is. And we'll cover this in later podcast episodes and everything. But just start simple. Like, where can you serve this person? Because I bet it'll catch them off guard. And then saying nice, encouraging things to them that are like, hey, you do this really well. And I really respect that and admire that. I cannot find myself saying that anytime soon to the few people in my life. But that's what I'm called to do. And if you think about it, play this out. And I'm playing this out in my head. If I start doing this to these people, my relationship with them is going to drastically change. One, I will continue to, prayer really works. But I noticed I did the prayer without the other stuff. and that was fine. But it took me a year. I'm like, would he have stopped being my so-called enemy so much faster if I if I knew about love and mercy ahead of time? Like, hey, let me give you mercy, and you deserve me to avoid you. You deserve me to be tolerable. You deserve me to just be cordial. Let me withhold that and give you instead love. Let me give you service. Let me give you sacrifice. Let me give you encouragement. Let me give you blessing, and like very tangible love, a choice. And we should totally study love a little bit more because of this. But isn't that fascinating that Jesus calls us to love our enemies that way? And that's honestly what Jesus did for us. Look at Jesus' story. Look at the story of Jesus in the Bible. He withheld what we deserve, which is in this case, so wages of sin is death. Our punishment was death. He withheld death and gave us love. He came to this earth, was born, lived his life, killed sin on the cross, came back to life because he loves us. And all of his time here on earth, he was here just proving who he said he was and teaching us the kingdom kind of life. He probably he had so many enemies, because everyone who follows Jesus at some point has an enemy. As we learned previously, it said, hey, if anyone says anything about you, like if anybody says, what do you say? You can just quote it. Wow, awkward pause right here. What blessings await you when people hate you and exclude you and mock you and curse you as evil because you follow the Son of Man? Like, it's going to happen. Happens to everybody who follows God. But that is Jesus loved his enemies perfectly. Even dying on the cross, the Roman soldiers, I would classify them as enemies, and he still loved them. I guarantee you he had eyes of love looking down at those people who just beat him, because that's who Jesus is, and that's what Jesus calls us to do for those people. You can look at him. He didn't just tolerate these Roman soldiers. He did not call the angels to get him down off the cross. He continued to pursue with his mission out of love. The people that hated him in his life, you saw him always pursuing with love. You never saw Jesus I don't think I've ever seen stories of Jesus just tolerating people. He challenged them, he pursued them. And honestly, love isn't always like lovey-dovey, like, oh, you're so great, oh, love, love, love. Sometimes love is just saying the hard thing that needs to be said for reconciliation. We see that a lot in Jesus too, is like he always was saying challenging things, but he never was like slandering people, hurting people that were his enemies. So I challenge you, Christian, as I have been challenged. Where in your life do you tolerate people? Because that's not following Jesus. That is not love your enemies. That's some hippie Jesus movement. Real discipleship is pursuing, a part of real discipleship is pursuing your enemies in love. Let me go ahead and see if I can pull up this definition of love really quick. Well, maybe not, because I see we're running around the normal time that I do this. So let's kind of land this plane and ask you some like reflection questions and have you guys sit in this for a second. Who, as I mentioned earlier, who is that person that you're thinking of? Have you been tolerating them? Have you been avoiding them? Have you been saying bad things about them to other people? Have you been neglecting them when you know they want to be around you? If you evaluated the way that you've been treating your enemies, would you say people would see the character of Jesus in the way you've been treating them? That one convicts me deeply. Because I look at my enemies and I treat them the way I want to treat them. But I hide behind the Christian fake facade identity of, oh, he's just tolerating. It's like he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. You know, he's not being mean, but he's not being nice. You know what I'm saying? And that's what so many Christians do. And we got to stop. We got to stop being fake. When we got enemies, man, we got to change the way we think about it. I got to change the way I think about it. So next time you're around this person, and maybe start thinking now about the next time, because it's around the holiday season. This episode is coming out around the holiday season. And we're around a lot of family. And I know there's a lot of people who have family that they always don't get along. And so some of us could probably classify some of our family as enemies. But think about this. Jesus came to the earth and he lived a perfect life. And then our job is to be a reflection of, like a disciple of Jesus' reflection. A disciple of Jesus is a reflection of him to the world. So you will now have other family members watching you interact with the family member that is irritating you. That would be, hey, he's kind of his enemy or her enemy. And are they going to see the character of Jesus reflected in the way you treat them this holiday season? I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. That's a tough question to think about. That's what I'm thinking about, man, Jesus, give me the strength through the power of the Holy Spirit inside me. Help me. Because I want to be different. I want to be a disciple. I want to follow you, and I want to be you to the world. And I want to start loving my enemies differently than I've always understood it. I know. So that was a fun way to end this podcast. But guys, it's important. It's important stuff. And so, like I said a little bit earlier, we'll switch complete notes here, and stop talking about loving your enemies and just kind of wind this down. But we got my dad book coming out. It's right now in proofreading phase, and now I just got to do cover design, get it nice and uploaded on Amazon. But that's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks. That's a process. So if you want to be on the launch team or you just want to be up to date with info, head over to www.revivebrand.com/dadbook, or just the website itself. You can find all the information. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Spotify, YouTube. Share this with everybody. Get everybody going. The book is going to be called Reviving Fatherhood, Guiding Every Dad from First Steps to Lasting Legacy. Because this book is written, it's like the foundational principles to succeed in fatherhood. Because it's all rooted in just getting to know God. I cover the characters, I cover time, and I cover tools to success. Those are the 3 sections broken down into chapters, and it is just incredible because we get to learn all about God. We get to learn about us. We get to learn about our kids. We get to learn about our time, our priorities, our routines. We get to think about spiritual warfare. We get to think about tools in our belt to help us get through it. We get to learn that we're not alone, and there's other resources around us as dads. And so this book needs to start getting shared around, share this little clip if I make this little clip short video. But we got to start spreading the word. And so head over to the website, get everyone signed up, tell everybody about this book. If you're on the launch team, keep an eye out. I'll be sending an email with kind of some more updates, but I have to make sure the book is finished first, because if I send out an email to the launch team, you guys are ready to act. But if I don't give you anything to act, then you're just going to get lost. Well, I think that's all the updates I have for today, but thank you so much for joining us on this episode together. I really hope you guys have an amazing holiday season, Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. I'm not just like an anti-Christmas or whatever, happy holidays, blah, blah, blah. It's just because I don't know when you're listening to this episode. Honestly, you could be listening to this in July, but just know this episode came out around the holidays. And play this episode next time you're into the holiday season so you can remember about loving your enemies. And it's different than tolerating. Jesus did not call us to tolerate. Jesus called us to love. And with that, take care and have a good one. See you next time.